Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Team Empire and Fnatic. This is the European version of Fnatic, of course, as always in the Premier League here. But yeah, these two teams are going to be going at it for one of their last games in the season. They're going to be going on to try to secure a slot in the playoffs here. Fnatic, if they win this game, 100% guarantee a slot. Team Empire, going to have to fight for it if they lose. So that's definitely one thing that both teams are keeping in mind here going on into this. One thing to mention is there are two stand-ins to look at here. Synderen standing in for Fly, and K, which I believe is one of their old Han buddies, going to be standing in for Honey himself. So we'll see how that works out. But for now, just going to be going on into the draft. I am, as always, Blaze, and welcoming back once again, Vickerman. How's it going, man?
Hey Blaze, it's going pretty well. I'm pretty excited for this game. I think the playoff bubble this season is actually 6 wins. So if you have 6 wins, then the 5th and 6th teams, which both have 4 wins, which is Dignitas and VP, I think actually can't catch you. So Fnatic, it's a matter of seeding for them. Empire, they do have 3 games left, so it's a matter of one of their next 3 they have to win, or they could end up with a 3-way clinch or more for 4th place.
Yeah. The two-way ties are decided outright based on the history of the teams, but for a 3-way tie, that might get a little bit more complicated, and that's definitely something you want to try to avoid, as well just trying to get better seeding there, because going up against the first-place team as a 4th place, it's just not going to be as probable for you to be able to get a chunk of that prize money there, so kind of looking into that there. Now, Team Empire had an interesting display the other day in the DreamHack qualifiers that was hosted by the Good Studio. They actually did have a bit of an issue at the end of their last game where there was a little bit of it seemed like a rage quit kind of a thing, frustration coming out of one of their players there. So hopefully Team Empire has resolved any internal or emotional issues and could just kind of go forward with the game here. And again, they do have their full roster as opposed to Fnatic playing with a couple stand-ins. So with that mindset, if they have refocused themselves, I think obviously they have the edge outright because they are playing as 5, but you can't underestimate Fnatic. I mean, their core players are going to be able to do and contribute so much in this scenario here. So immediately, what do you think about this draft?
Both teams have sort of drafted up pretty good lineups so far. It's hard to say just yet who actually has the advantage here. I like the bans from both teams. There is sort of this debate of just how good IO is, but in a game between Empire and Fnatic, 2 of the absolute most Wisp-heavy teams around, seeing that IO ban first phase is not surprising at all. I would actually expect it to be banned in the first phase in every single game of this series, whether that be 2 or 3 games. Both teams are picking up heroes that they like, as well as I like this Puck pick from Empire. It does take that Puck away from No-Tail. We've seen Fnatic rotate No-Tail into the mid recently. It's a position that he used to play in Han, and he was very, very good at it. He's still, I think, adapting to it in Dota 2. We've seen him play some fantastic games with it already. We've seen some more mediocre games from it. But just in general for Empire, I always like to see them diversify a little bit away from that Vigos Quap. Not that he's not amazing at Queen of Pain, because he is, but I think it's really important. One of the criticisms of Empire traditionally has always been that their draft can be really predictable. So to sort of diversify their middle position, I think is very, very important for them. But for Fnatic, pick up a bunch of heroes that they like as well. What I'm going to be looking for is actually which team takes the Nature's Prophet, because I think that team is actually at a slight disadvantage. Nature's Prophet is getting more and more popular, but I don't think his performance actually justifies how popular he is. And these are 2 teams that both really, really like running that Nature's Prophet, and I feel like it's lost them both winnable games.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I love the Bat Rider and the Puck pickup for Empire. Those are the 2 main heroes that No-Tail has run mid in the past, so taking those 2 out, it does limit his pool there if he does want to play the mid role as opposed to the support, which you generally are more apt to do when you have only a few core players to work with in your roster. So just trying to take a higher spotlight, higher profile role in that. But right now the draft, like you said, is still very fundamentally good for Fnatic. They have Synderen's Keeper of the Light, they have Trixie's Lone Druid, now this Night Stalker, either being going to be picked up by K, the stand-in, or No-Tail. Either way, going to be very, very effective in my mind. With the long duration silence, you can screw over a bunch of different heroes. Puck, he won't be able to phase and jaunt. The Bat Rider might be able to blink in, but may perhaps not get that lasso initiation off and just put himself in harm's way rather than that of his opponent. That can be very powerful and good against Rubik as well. So in this mindset here, I think Fnatic has a great aggressive mindset right here with the Night Stalker pick, and we'll just have to see what they follow through with to make sure it's supported.
With good execution, having a reliable silence against Batrider or Puck is actually just incredible, because if you can respond to them blinking in with it, it can be a huge deal. I can't remember what the two teams involved were, but there was a game in yesterday's DreamHack Invitational games where Queen of Pain, I think it was QPad, had Sing Sound Queen of Pain, and he had an Orchid. And the other team, it might have actually been Fnatic, but I'm not sure. They kept blinking in with Batrider in an attempt to lasso somebody, and just the immediate Orchid response. So if you can silence the Batrider as it comes in, or if you can silence Puck as he comes in, that entire initiation is basically stuffed at that point. They either have to retreat or just concede the fact that they lost their initiation hero. So Nightstalker can definitely do that. I like your point about who's actually going to be playing up against it. There's this tricky situation you're in when you have two stand-ins specifically, where you can have them as, usually stand-ins will take the support roles, but if you have both your 4 and your 5 as stand-ins, the question becomes how good is that support duo communication going to be, and how much can the core heroes, the 1, 2, and 3 players, really rely on that support duo? Because if you don't have that sort of sustained level of communication with even one of your supports being one of your regular players, it's like, oh, when will they be ganking? When will they be roaming? We're not sure, because we don't have that level of experience with them. So I think we might actually see K go up in the middle and No-Tail back on one of the supports, but I'm not sure. It's tough to say. Synderen will almost certainly be playing support, though.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, they've worked with him plenty of times. Like,
yeah.
I would say half the time that they need a stand-in, he's the one to step up to the plate, and so they have worked with him quite a bit in that regard, and I think it'll be very potent here. But I find it interesting, this Fnatic ban of the Bane, and how much respect they have to Silent on that hero. Yeah. Of course, they're looking for another support to add to their current lineup here, if they want to send, like, the Batrider or the Puck on the offlane. So that's something that they can respectfully take off the table, but it's just interesting. They're already up against 3 intellect heroes. They've got a Nightstalker. They have the tools to deal with it. They just don't want to. They're like, Silent, we know you got this hero under wraps. You can make some amazing plays with him. Not gonna deal with that whatsoever. I'm also taking off this Naga Siren, which I kind of feel is a little bit unorthodox, but I could see where they're coming from, with the potential to lay down the Firefly, set up the Dream Coil, and maybe a really good Waning Rift. The Naga Siren is one of those just amazing setup heroes that, although she might not be the best late game carry, she has so much utility that it really makes up for it. Interesting.
And Empire Lake Naga. Like it's a good ban specifically against Empire, not because it's that amazing in this lineup, although it's quite good, but because it is a hero that Empire in particular like to play. I've seen them run it quite a bit, including fairly recently. I think in the last couple of days they've deployed this Naga more than once, so Fnatic just sort of responding to that. A good Shadow Demon ban out as well. Of course, this is one of the absolute strongest supports.
Yeah, so it's actually going to be Fnatic banning out the Phantom Lancer, taking that off the table. Their Era apparently not wanting to go that route and just kind of looking for something themselves. I don't think it would have been that threatening if they had to go up against a Rubik plus Phantom Lancer lineup. I mean, if he doesn't have the mana to support it, he's going to maybe have to dip into Soul Ring and delay his core. But nevertheless, it's just something that they feel if they're going for a gank-heavy type thing with a lot of early aggression and single-target damage, the last thing they want to have to worry about is building towards a late-game mindset of Maelstroms and Battle Furies and those kinds of things. So I think it's a solid ban one way or another, but I'm curious to see what Era has in mind if the Lifestealer and the Phantom Lancer and the Gyrocopter, as well as even the Luna, are taken out.
Yeah, these are two very aggressive teams, so it's actually not that big of a surprise to me that you see a lot of the most aggressive carries in the game being taken out. Even the less popular ones, like Luna, like Naga Siren, who are still very much in the metagame, but when you see these two teams, Empire and Fnatic, where their wins usually clock in the under, like, 35-minute mark, it's really not that huge of a surprise that they are going to do those strong pairs. Good Lina pickup. I mean, Lina pairs with Rubik very well. It continues this sort of aggressive game plan. And Puck, Rubik, Lina, Batrider, this forms a very, very scary ganking core. At the potential cost of a lot of these heroes are somewhat flimsy. So Fnatic, if they draft a little bit more of a tanky lineup that can withstand that damage and turn it right around on Empire, could be trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unorthodox picks that could work very, very well with this. I'm thinking something more durable, like a strength support. Maybe something like a Sand King jumping in. If he gets a few levels, he could really, really dish out a lot of damage. Of course, you have to worry about that Rubik and his null field and spell steals and such, but nevertheless, I just think it's something that could add a little bit of extra oomph, because like you said, they're squishy. You get one good stun nuke on them, suddenly they're useless. Nightstalker can do that to one thing, but now he kind of has 4 different high-priority targets that he has to worry about.
I would love to see Juggernaut. This is a pick that the Lone Druid Juggernaut combo is something that's been climbing into, like, draft them both in the first phase in the Asian metagame, and it gives you so much push Empire, they have some anti-push just because all their heroes have sort of spells that deal a lot of damage, but it's very mana intensive. So if you get that before they can sort of stack up Arcane Boots and get the sustainment. Earthshaker, this is a Fnatic hero. I wanted to mention this. This is always 100% of the time played by Hani, and they don't have him, but I think they feel that it fits into their lineup so well that they'll just take it even if they don't have Hani. And Earthshaker, with careful Fissure positioning, can just be a total game changer. It gives Night Stalker and Lone Druid so much more time on target, and it means that the Keeper of the Light essentially gets at least 1, possibly 2 free Illuminates on you. I really like it. It does mean that if they pick up the Juggernaut, they end up having 4 melee heroes, but I don't know, I almost feel like it's worth it. Just the pushing power of that is really strong, plus the magic immunity.
Yeah, the lane will still work very well. I mean, they can go for the Illuminate and the Fissure, and along with that, set it up. I love this idea with the spin in conjunction with everything we've seen already, because, yeah, like you said, it's a great counteraction. The only thing they have to worry about is that Flaming Lasso, and honestly, there are so many other targets that a Batrider would prefer to lasso, because as soon as Juggernaut gets out, unless he's perfectly waning rifted by Puck, he's going to be able to Omni Slash and delay his death, meaning that he'll still be able to drop his payload there. So I think it might be a great last pick, but either way, I just gotta say I love this Earthshaker. I was talking about Sand King, doing some nice stun, nice burst of magic damage, but this really makes it so that they actually have the range to do it as well. You're not worried about a rank 1 Burrow Strike waddling up there and not really getting it off. So I think it's a really, really solid pickup here, but Mirana to counteract it. Like we said before, not a single durable hero in the bunch, but with a lot of maneuverability and powerful disables, I still think that Team Empire could really make this work.
So the scuttlebutt is that Ice Frog is just paying people under the table to pick Mirana. What do you think about that, Blaze? Or do you think that there's really... She has made like a huge splash in maybe the last 3 to 4 days, and I am uncertain as to how warranted it is, but maybe you have some insight.
Well, I think that the tri-lane potential of Mirana is something that we're seeing more and more recently. We do see the Juggernaut come on out. But with Blow Your Brain here on the Mirana, if he synergizes well with supports, they chain up Disable. It's similar to how we've seen an Ogre Magi, Leshrac, Mirana lane work out in a previous match. I'm not exactly sure which one that was, but like you said, it was in the past few days.
No Tide Roxkiss.
There you go.
Game 2.
But this is pretty much the same idea. You go Telekinesis, you go Light Strike Ray, you go into Arrow. Heck, they could even pick off Era, who's a very, very magic immune and relatively durable hero in the Juggernaut. If they start off with the Telekinesis, there's really nothing to stop this combo other than a full body block.
Yeah, it has to be the Telekinesis. They have to time it fairly carefully since, of course, as soon as the TK stops, as soon as the lift portion stops, he can spin. But yeah, they can chain that up with the Lina stun and then the arrow, and then you basically have a dead era, but I don't know. My issue is, I feel like in the extreme early game, Empire is somewhat favored in the 3 versus 3 situation, but as soon as we go up into the early to mid game, I feel like Fnatic are drastically favored. Like, as soon as that Night Stalker can roam, Silence is effective against literally every single hero Empire have. They don't have a hero who can just sort of shrug off the silence at all. Even Mirana, it takes away her escape mechanism and all of her early damage. Mirana is really, she's like Luna, but even more so in that early she brings a lot of magic damage to the table, and later on she brings auto damage, except Luna also deals pretty good auto damage early, and Mirana really, really doesn't.
Now, we didn't really talk about lanes in this situation here, but I kind of saw this coming once they picked up that Mirana there, that they could be looking to send multiple heroes, maybe all 3 of them, down bottom. Have like the Lina, the Rubik, and the Mirana combo, but right now it looks like they're actually trying to avoid the 3 versus 3 and just go for a 3 versus 1, maybe to pick off on the Lone Druid. Not 100% certain here. They're kind of going back and forth, a little bit of musical lanes going on. But one thing I want to jump over to that is concrete is No-Tail starting items, going for a Stout Shield and a Tango. That's a very delayed bottle, and you don't get much last hit potential, but inevitably you will be able to void down a couple of creeps and get it. It's just interesting to start off with this, especially up against a Batrider. Did you think maybe it was going to be 1v2 dual lane there?
Top.
Yeah,
Trixie,
big damage coming on to Trixie. He has the boots, so he will be able to run on out of here. The right clicks come along, and it's not going to be enough damage to bring him down. The boots already doing work, has that salve to pop off, and yeah, Trixie will survive. Get a couple hits in with his bear as well, but there is Vigos, so they do have to worry about kind of doing a little bit of pincer action there. But for now, Trixie does use up one of his 2 main sources of HP regen, and that does set him a little bit behind.
There's that boots first, Blaze. We were just talking about it a few days ago, wondering why anybody would ever go that, and it's doing work here. No-Tail will definitely have a really tough time in the middle, I feel like. He didn't even miss the Void last hit there. Interestingly, with Empire, they've actually so far gone with a tri-top around the Puck. and Mirana solo bot. I feel like Blow Your Brain might have a pretty hard time here, though.
Yeah,
Maybe not, but maybe yes.
Yeah, well, the problem with Mirana is that the leap is only 30 seconds. They don't have all that much lockdown because the Fissure is pretty much the only thing that will keep her in place.
That's true, and he can jump over it.
Yeah, but if you Fissure when that leap is on cooldown, again, 30 full seconds, it is actually going to be a complete 100% lockdown that could easily lead to a first blood. So that's something where Blow Your Brain just has to play as cautiously as possible, which is not really something that you generally want to say about your hard carry player. So in this situation, he is going to be pressured. He's going to get very few last hits. Just try to keep his tower alive. But one great thing about it is that the supports will be in a position in the defensive tri lane to go for stacks and pulls. If they can get levels on Lina and on Rubik, they can actually transition down bottom to go for counter push, which is really, really big.
Right, that's really the thing here, is that if they can get levels on the supports, that's so useful, because Lina actually, like, she's such a great damage dealer if she's able to get timely levels, and in a lot of games, because she's stuck in that hard support role and there's a lot of 3 versus 3 action, she's not able to actually get the levels that she needs. So a timely 6 on both Lina and Rubik would be very, very consequential. The issue, of course, just being Blow Your Brain, but he can leap over the fissures, so the more I think about this, the safer it seems for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the timing. If they cannot force the leap before a Fissure, then that Fissure is not going to be a major factor in those exchanges. Synderen will still continue harassing, and Blow Your Brain doesn't have much base damage to trade out. Actually goes for the arrow, but now we're going to see that Fissure at work, but again, they don't have the leap. They get the burst of damage, but Blow Your Brain doesn't even use that cooldown. Still has plenty of HP to work with that salve, and he's going to be able to stay alive down here on bottom. So, okay position for him to be in, while mid lane is pretty much being wrecked all over by Scandal, doing a lot of damage. He was trying to push to get the bottom rune, but Kay was there a little bit too swiftly and stole the regeneration, and from there, it's kind of evened itself out.
For Blow Your Brain, the most important thing... nice arrow attempt, but good dodge, actually, from Synderen there. Props to Synderen. If they don't kill Blow Your Brain and he manages to hit 6 pretty quickly, ganking actually becomes way harder. Like, they have to... I mean, basically you have to add a Dusk no matter where you go, because they can make the gank response of the Moonlight Shadow, and that gives them 15 seconds, basically, to escape whoever actually the Night Stalker's targeting. So that essentially means wherever you travel as Night Stalker, you have a dust tax that you have to apply. And if Empire has good warding, and they actually Moonlight Shadow like well before you get there, you might not even be there in time.
Yeah, very unfortunate timing for Empire in the mid lane here. It was just No-Tail was playing it safe enough, actually just going for his Bottle Crow and trying to put that up on the courier, and that's why he was being so far back. But coincidentally, that was the exact timing that Rubik and Lina were trying to come on in and make some magic happen. So unfortunately, Silent Goblak walking away back to top lane with nothing, but they will still get their stack timing off, and I don't think that'll be too consequential towards delaying their inevitable experience.
No, I mean, they're doing okay. You do see both the supports of Empire already one level ahead of both of the supports on Fnatic. So Silent, he's one level above where Synderen is, and Goblak is one level above where Kay is. And that's gonna, especially if Fnatic start trying to push that when they're up in a 5-stack, and they start falling even more behind on XP because they're sort of deathballing around, you're gonna start seeing those support levels matter if they maintain that advantage.
Interesting skill usage by No-Tail right now. It looks like he's not going to go for Crippling Fear at all, and he's definitely making sure his Void stays level 1 until he starts wanting to use it to harass or get kills. Because level 1 Void is less mana, it's very, very effective in making sure that it's not going to be too inefficient. Blow Your Brain on bottom will get Fissured on out, doesn't want to use his leap just yet. He actually still gets hit by the Illuminate, and again, without any HP regeneration, that means that he is probably going to be forced back here, which is really good for him. In the meantime, No-Tail was able to get that haste rune, so although he was bringing a flying little courier out to himself to use to bring the bottle back to the base whenever he felt necessary, it's actually not going to be needed at all, because he has that haste rune. That means he automatically can cover up the rune unless Scandal is able to guess it correctly.
I do like this is actually the second or third time in the past few days that we've seen Fnatic do this double courier strat. Because the downside of Bottle Crow is that everybody else doesn't get a courier to work with at all, because Bottle Crow essentially monopolizes the time of the courier. But what you can do is exactly what Fnatic did here, buy 2 right off the bat, so that everybody else can use the other one, and you have your own pocket Crow that you can just bottle with.
Push pressure coming down at bottom. They do go for a fully charged Illuminate, and Synderen has 2 points of Chakra Magic to keep that flowing here. They do have 2 points in Healing Ward, so it looks like they want to stay on this, or at least get some big damage onto Blow Your Brain. He will tank up that Illuminate, and dropping down to 250 HP, the tangos aren't going to be enough for him to feel comfortable trying to directly contest this push. So the Healing Ward does drop down, the arrow does come out, and it gets dodged. So
No-Tail's got haste.
give plenty of time for them to put pressure out here, but No-Tail coming in
trouble.
with that haste rune. The double TP coming out.
Whoa.
One will be staggered. The first to arrive is going to be Vigos with that Dream Coil available, but just going to head back towards bottom as he can't really commit it to a hasted target, which now it's nighttime, so that 2 points in Hunt of the Night will, actually 3 points now in Hunt of the Night, going 3-0-3. He really, really wants to run quick, and that's exactly what's being accomplished. Even without Boots of Speed, he's 383, so not too bad.
He really wants to run quick, eh? Would you say that he has to go fast?
Perhaps.
No, but I like those TPs from Empire just to prevent the first blood. I feel like maybe they only actually needed to execute one of them and just cancel the other one because No-Tail was already running away. But that completely prevented the first blood. I mean, No-Tail had pretty easy time there, frankly. Wow, what a nice telekinesis actually from Silent there. That was brilliant.
Yeah, the TK went down onto the Earthshaker, who was attempting for that Fissure, canceling out that cast animation and making it so that they couldn't lock him in place, which was extremely important. But No-Tail right up in his business here. No Crippling Fear available, so they're just going to go for some hard nuke. Only hits Blow Your Brain with that Illuminate, but now 4 are down bottom. That Illuminates on CD, and they're feeling comfortable to maybe go for something here.
No-Tail.
Yeah, No-Tail's in a pretty rough spot. Did get hit by that coil. This is going to be Vigos doing a lot of damage, but the Flame Break is just going to push him on away. Has his Boots of Speed, was given a nudge in the right direction. Now it's the damage coming out for the first blood, finally coming down on Lina, as they were able to Fissure and get Arrow Spin off there. No mana, actually, with his Tread Swap. He actually goes for the Omni Slash, gets a double with that Omni Slash coming out of Arrow. Really, really smooth move there. And we do see No-Tail kind of still playing with these other 3. Silent is dropping so darn quickly, and even though he does have Boots of Speed, No-Tail might be able to keep pace here. The Napalm about to expire. If No-Tail just goes the right direction, he does go and kind of catches his scent. Has to dive past the tower here, and he is going to go deep. Going on towards the tier 3, gets that Void off before the TK, won't get arrowed, and from there No-Tail is also putting some kills on the board for himself. In No Man's Land, though, actually going as deep as possible, dodges out a Light Strike array. Wow, is he really going to be able to just go right up next to their base like this and just survive on out of it? That's ridiculous.
Nice. Really good play from No-Tail, and that's the sort of thing we're going to be seeing more and more, I think, as he becomes accustomed to mid. I actually think this mid switch for No-Tail is a big potential upside for a Fnatic. It's just a matter of adjustment time for like the team to become really used to it. But I think as he becomes better and better and gets to the point where he was at in Han, this could be like a huge development for Fnatic. Like, I think it's going to be really, really consequential in the long term. And now's the time to sort of, if you're thinking towards TI3, and I can guarantee you that every single professional team right now is thinking towards TI3, now is the time to sort of experiment with your roster a little bit, try people in new roles, figure out what's sort of your strategic plan for that. And I think No-Tail mid is one of my favorite changes that Fnatic could make.
Yeah, it's just trying to unlock the hidden potential. You see up on top of Rubik is in a bad spot here with the Void to come on out. He does have that rank 2 telekinesis, but getting blocked up a little bit. No-Tail will still be able to pursue. Doesn't intend to, though. Worried about some retaliation TPs, presumably. But either way, he's still dishing out a lot of damage. How do you feel about the fact that he actually ranked Hunter of the Night over Void for his level 7 skill point? Do you think that was just a reactionary in his position down on the bottom lane between the tier 2 and the tier 3?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. When he was doing this weird little, I don't even know what that was. It's like those Family Circus comics where they plot the circuitous route that the kid takes them.
That's perfect. That is hilarious. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. He was just roaming around all in circles, going in and out, juking in the trees, taking the scenic route through the dire jungle, and yeah, he found his way out of there, and he needed a little bit of extra MS for that. So really good timing of his skill usage, and now he's at level 8, so it won't really cost him anything.
He's the highest level on the map. I mean, Vigos just barely matching him, and Vigos was their safe lane farmer. Like, I still really worry about this princess, not priestess of the moon. Like, Blow Your Brain is only level 4. He just doesn't really bring anything except an arrow, and that's when the arrow manages to land.
Yeah, level 4 Potom, it's just really not going to be doing too much for them there.
He's lower than their supports.
Yeah, exactly. We do see big damage coming out of No-Tail. They do pop off the lasso. This should be a kill on a level 8 hero. Really, really big for them, but he does pop off a big magic wand. Still has the bottle, but doesn't get a chance to use it. Right-clicked on down, and yeah, that's a big kill going to Lina. She now has Laguna Blade available in cooldown, if not in mana, and that's going to be really big for them.
Props to Godblack for that Light Strike array, actually. If that hadn't landed, or if he had just slightly missed it, No-Tail actually would have bottled, and I'm 70% certain he would have survived.
Most definitely. So we see this tower falling down on bottom. This is what they've been working towards for a very long time, and Mirana just not having that potential. We do see Arrow taking some hits here, but nothing really that's going to deter him from keeping his aggression up here. Healing Ward already brought him back to full, and he's going to keep farming away. Right now, 66 CS. He did get that last hit on the tower, and he got a double kill earlier. Do you think he's just going to rush the Battle Fury up here? Or?
Oh, you took him out Arrow?
Yep.
Yeah, probably. I think so. The only other option will be something like Quick Manta, because Yasha's very good for him. Uh-oh, Vigos.
Yeah, dropping very, very quickly. They are actually going to be able to bring him down. The Bear and No Tail together just doing too much damage. Actually using the phase of the Bear to make sure that No Tail can get in underneath him and get an extra right click in. I think that's really, really essential in that situation. All cramped up in one little spot. But the pressure comes in on the mid lane. And yeah, Lone Druid is level 8, so that means his Bear is almost maxed on synergy, has that battle cry available, and can just pound into towers, especially with the siege creep adding on into it. They're actually taking it up to full. Are they going to go all the way for this? I believe they are, and they're going to get it. So a tier 1 tower in full, the arrow will strike on the Bear, but not setting up any potential to kill it anytime soon. So right now, you said that Fnatic, when they go into the mid to late game, they have more potential, and right now, already starting off very, very strong. Team fight breaking on out. Scandal will lasso up on a low HP Trixie, who's already wary about going too far in. The Fade Bolt, and here comes the Orb. He's going to drop down most definitely. Synderen gets nuked down by that Laguna Blade in the southeast. Mirana does get picked off by the rest of the Fnatic crew, but I don't really feel that they can go in this aggressive right here. The Void comes out, but here comes that Omni-Size. Big damage with that spin as well. Godblack should fall, and now look for more. No Tail going to be able to bring down Silence as well. Daytime does strike, but they at least have picked off 2 and can fall back from here.
K doesn't quite find the fissure. I think they wanted Vigos too, but that's the thing. As soon as Era comes into the fights, once he pops off that Battle Fury, if Lasso's on cooldown, it's just sort of, oh, what was our plan to deal with this? Like, what can Empire actually do to Juggernaut when Lasso is on cooldown? Yeah. Pretty much nothing. And, like, it becomes very difficult. That's actually why I think he maybe shouldn't go the Battle Fury. I'm still not clear what he's going to do, because he has 4.2k, which is quite a decent amount of money.
Radiance, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Jug Radiance, pretty classic. I mean, here's the thing, he probably could, just because, again, he's effectively unkillable until Blow Your Brain finds auto attack, or until they save the Lasso. But that's the thing. It's a tough call to actually save Lasso for Juggernaut no matter what, when there's a Lone Druid right there that you also really want to hit with it. Fnatic just have these 2, even 3 extremely attractive Lasso targets, and it's going to take a lot of discipline to be like, no, we're not going to Lasso this 40% HP Lone Druid, run the risk of his Bear entangling every single person on our team to death, and just wait for the Juggernaut to come in.
Yeah, he's saving up hardcore. I honestly think that Radiance might be a feasible thing. I mean, we already talked about how darn squishy Empire is, and if they just keep on taking continuous damage, if Puck or Batrider can't blink in because of that damage in the AoE, no, he's going to go Sanjin Yasha. Going for Steamroll build, going for just as many base, just cheap stats as possible. It's not really a great late game item, but he's saying screw it. The up on the top lane, Keeper Light will be picked off, just committing the lasso, and finding a support a little bit too far ahead, using that Blink Dagger to its fullest. So good play by Scandal there. But yeah, Era going for those cheap stats, wanting to make sure that he can just go in for quick, easy right-click damage and still survive. It's not great late game, and I never will think it will be, but he can build it into decent things. He can go for a Manta style later on, and that, you know, the Sanj can be maybe a Halberd or just go for some good raw HP, either way.
Looks like they might smoke it to the mid and try to see if they get Trixie, but they don't have Lasso, so I don't know about it. I do want to say that this level 8 Lina is no joke. Like, Godblack has had a pretty good game, and when you can just Laguna people down, it's quite useful. But the flip side is, like, what's their plan in an engagement that goes longer than about 5 seconds? Sure. And I don't think they've quite put one together here. So for Empire, the plan is to play pretty defensively. You can see that they've ringed the exits of Fnatic's base and sort of the entrances over into the jungle into Empire's half. Yeah. This is smart wording, because they have to guarantee that essentially the entire map is free for them to actually find some farm for Blow, finish off some of these items for Vigos. Like a Blink would be fantastic for him as well, and just sort of get to the point at which they're comfortable in an engagement that actually lasts more than a few seconds.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much what it comes down to, in my opinion, if they want to go for an extended fight, they need amazing spell steals. Maybe an Illuminate they can get off a couple times in the fight, steal an Omni Slash, I don't know, something that can really, really dish out the damage.
Sure.
Because although they have pretty good damage in the Lina, it will be on one target, whereas Puck and Batrider are great setup heroes, but they don't have much follow-up damage on a second or third primary individual. So Fnatic will lose one person immediately in a fight. The question is, what will happen to the remaining individuals?
Yeah, the question is, what about the second person or the third person? I do think Fnatic really, really need detection, and they need it soon, because Moonlight Shadow is available, and that's something that Empire can use. If you just get completely flat-footed by a Moonlight Shadow, you can pretty much lose a lot more people right there, because you're not able to effectively punish the other team. So that's a good asset for Empire. The problem is, it's not too hard, at least in a teamfight context, to actually nullify the power of that.
So comparing these two carries here, Blow Your Brain right now sitting on 2 Wraith Bands. That's a plus stats of, you get, what, plus 12 agility from that, and a bunch of plus to the others, about 6 for strength, 6 for intellect. A little bit of bonus damage. You compare that to the Sange and Yasha, it is a heck of a lot more expensive, but you're getting 16 strength, 16 agility, attack speed, movement speed, and damage, as well as a chance for the maim. I really think it's a lot of potential there. We do see another pick-off coming out onto No-Tail, and they're just kind of finding these left and right, which is really big for Empire, honestly. They need to find these little picks, because right now they're 5v5. If there is a darkness popped off, or it's actually during the nighttime, Empire doesn't really have too much ground to stand on. So they're making the most of this day, and I really, really think that if they are going to win at any point in time, it has to be during the daytime, because you just don't contest a Night Stalker directly outside of tower range during that nighttime.
I think they're doing a great job. They will have to maintain the ward coverage because they just lost all of these wards that have helped them get these pickoffs. But as long as Empire maintain vision, they rule the band of Fnatic's movement into their base, and they sort of work really hard on getting Blow back into this game as an actual relevant force. I think they could be in okay shape, and I mean, they like playing this individual pickoff ganking game. Trixie could be in trouble top too.
Yes, we do see Vigos immediately getting fissured on out. He has that Blink Dagger, but doesn't get a chance to use it. The Entangle comes out, the Moonlight Shadow does nothing. Godblack will be able to get a stun off on the bear, but really they're just trying to make sure that they can keep these remaining 2 individuals alive. Actually venturing out a little bit far just to scout things out, knowing that Fnatic really doesn't have much to work with. Again, no detection up for any of them, but now it's about to expire. There goes the Omnislash Scandal, gonna get dropped down. Apparently really overestimating his blink reflexes, and in that sense just immediately falling. And from there, they can take something big.
Yeah, both heroes with the blink completely unable to actually get out with it there, unfortunately. Vigos, of course, he did get stuck in an entangle quite quickly. I think it was the second hit entangle.
Sure.
See, if this was a Panda, it would of course be first hit entangle, Dota2store.com. But he does get it on the second hit. It's enough to take down Vigos as he fades from the Moonlight Shadow. So that can't feel good. You really think that if we're going to pop this ultimate, it had better actually work and get us to escape, and it just hasn't. Empire is still stuck, basically, fighting 4v5 against a pretty solid 5v5 composition with the 2 highest net worth players on the map. I mean, this Juggernaut has a net worth of above 9k, I think.
A Natural Night comes on out. Darkness going to be popped off to extend it significantly. And here we do see that Lone Druid Bear. Look at how little damage he's taking with that healing ward just behind him. Always going to keep him up. And from there, the Lone Druid can just chomp down on that tower, bring it down. Half of its HP gone just outright. And now they have the vision advantage. There's only 1 Observer ward down in the southern area for Empire, but No-Tail has 1800 vision at nighttime. So they're kind of crossing us very, very directly here, but the bear is still on that front line, recalled very, very nicely. We do see Blink Initiation in, but maybe a little bit too overextended. No-Tail is going to drop quickly. Rubik was able to steal that Omni Slash up. Drinkwall comes out on everybody, but the Waning Rift on cooldown. Not sure how well they can take the Scandal, getting tangled up here. Hey, it looks like he's going to drop before he can get any spellcast beyond that Fisher off. And yeah, now just trying to go on through. Actually, there is going to be that root coming out onto Silence, so no more Fishers for him. There is going to be a nice Flame Break to deter and just disengage from this team fight, but this tier 2 will fall in a matter of seconds.
Actually, this wasn't the worst trade for Empire. They got 2 kills. They actually got a tower. That's their first tower of the game, and Blow managed to counterpush that
so
solo.
deep on in here. There is that Silence up on Lena. He wants to go even further. The Laguna Blade comes out. The Dragon Slave as well. He should be able to play her. No. Too much slow from that turn rate. Now the Omni Slash on the Scandal. He will be the one that they take to the grave. Now Vigos coming in with a big Blink Initiation. Turning around. Era will take a right click from the tower. Surviving with 22 HP, but he can't heal himself just yet. The Flame Break is not going to strike him, though. Scandal just barely missing him there, and the stuns will not hit on anybody. Cinderin lives as well. Everybody TPs away. No-Tail does pay for his hubris, but the rest will be able to fall back there, and they still have that kill advantage.
Oh, poor Blow Your Brain. He accidentally threaded the needle there. Like, you've got the 2 TPs coming out here, and the arrow just goes like this.
Yeah.
That's the trouble with that Miran arrow. It really is a lot easier to hit that thing in Warcraft 3. It's so much smaller. Like, it's just harder for the other team to sort of calculate it. Like, much harder. Even now that it's smaller now than it used to be, because it used to be just enormous.
Shoot, that was ridiculous, but nevertheless. So, Night Stalker jumping in like that. Right now, that was a buyback and a second death by No-Tail. That kind of position puts him now, he's sitting at 4-4-1, where he was actually dominating previously. So, in this situation, he's only sitting on an Ogre Club and Magic Wand. You hate to say this to a Night Stalker, but do you think he needs to back off a little bit?
I actually think no, Blaze, and I'll say it because even though he is sort of dying repeatedly, in the last couple of deaths that he's had, they've been in service of a greater purpose. And for Fnatic, that greater purpose right now is clear out all these outer towers, and take complete control of the map. Once Fnatic have map control, I would say it's more or less checkmate, because Empire won't be able to drag themselves back into the game, and their turtle capacity is okay, but nothing to write home about. I think Lone Druid could just slowly siege
Going on
them
in,
down.
Scandal gets that pick off on No Tail once more. Moonlight Shadow comes out, Dream Coil onto 2. Era wants to hit on something, but with no Omni Slash available. Healing Ward drops down, I guess, from Silent, but the big thing is Laguna Blade coming down to finish off No Tail. They really want to give it to him. The arrow out after the telekinesis. Trixie is going to be Flame Break to the east and hit by the Light Strike Array. Beautiful Light Strike by Godblack here. Era is going to dish out a lot of damage. With that Battle Blade Fury, going to be able to finish off on the Batrider. Echo Slam came out as well. A lot of damage going across. The Omni Slash will finish off Mirana, and I think that he might actually be able to walk away from this. Omni Slash was stolen by Rubik, so that is a lot of damage to deal with, but Era, so quick on his feet with that Sanjin Yasha, should be able to get a good enough distance to blink on away, which I just gotta say is the weirdest item build I've seen, but nevertheless working in this situation as he was able to get the pick off he was looking for there.
It's we've seen him go Blink Lifestealer before, and I think this is sort of the same idea. I do have to say that time I do have to issue errata to my previous statement, because after No Tail got Synderen, is he dead here?
No, there's no stun to come out from Vigos, so he's perfectly fine. But as you're saying,
right after I said that it's okay for No Tail to dive in, he got lassoed. They got out of the lasso. Empire popped their Moonlight Shadow to disengage. I feel like Fnatic should have just disengaged. They lost some pretty substantial parts of their lead there. Like, they lost Trixie again. They lost No Tail, which, I mean, it puts them a little farther behind. And, I don't know. I think I was just wrong. So I'll go ahead and cop to being wrong there. Because it would be really good if No Tail managed to hit the BKB sometime soon. Because after that, he can just be as daring as he wants to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that they were backing off with the Moonlight Shadow. Their positioning seemed to be that they were still willing to fight. Do you think they could have used that Moonlight Shadow for just an inter-team fight type thing, where they wanted their squishy people to be invisible?
Absolutely, they could have. But the flip side of that is that if Fnatic hadn't sort of taken the... they took a very vertical fight. Like, some of their players were all the way down here, and some of them were all the way up here. Mm-hmm. You can just regroup down here, and then it doesn't... If the other team approaches you, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, it's a much more favorable position either way. Like, it's essentially a Pareto improvement over what they actually did, which was to lose 2 people up here and have the rest of their team over here.
Mm-hmm. So, Era's item build, as we mentioned, is pretty interesting here. The things I do like about it is that one thing Juggernaut really lacks is mobility. As soon as that Omni Slash ends, there's really not much he can accomplish other than some good AoE spin damage. I mean, he can right-click, but again, he can't really stay on target unless he isn't spinning, or unless he is spinning, because then he is immune to the magic. But nevertheless, in this situation here, he does have bonus movement speed from Sanjin Yasha. He does have Blink Dagger. Now I feel like he needs to back that up with something else. So he can either build into the Manta style by disassembling, or he could go for, in my opinion, either an MKB. He already has crit, obviously, built in, but like maybe a Desolator. What are you thinking about those ideas?
Desolator, I think, would be amazing. Oh, No Tail. Oh, no.
Actually,
he's just trying to prove me wrong, because there is no purpose served by this deck.
I think he's alright, though. Right now, I would be more worried for Vigos right here. He does have his phase shift, will be able to pop it off, looking for that jaunt in the near future. He will get the jaunt, looking for the blink, but the damage, the crit, does come out, and he's the one to take a fall. And just kind of seeing No Tail play a little bit of a distraction game here.
Well, if the arrow had hit, it would be a different story,
sure,
I think.
Sure.
Era, I would love the Desolator, because it's so good for your push, and it just means that the bear is going to blow you the heck away.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, looking for some entangles here on to Blow Your Brain. He doesn't leap just yet, but the there finally comes through the root. He leaps with the root, but here comes a Blink Dagger, Omni Slash coming at Era. That's where it comes into play, and now they're going to easily bring down this tier 2.
This is so new meta, Blaze. This is as new meta as you can possibly get with this Juggernaut.
Strong. Very, very
Did
strong.
Godblack get the Omni again? No, he gets Healing Ward. Actually, I don't mind Healing Ward here, just to sort of try to do the turtle, but Omni would be better, of course.
Yeah, most definitely. He had it previously, but I'm not sure if he just had that expire or he knew it was going to run out. So the cooldown, making sure that he didn't have to worry about it. But we see them actually going for Roche here, and I believe they have no trouble at all taking this, honestly. Going for a Battle Cry on the Bear, they can just burn this down so quickly. Double damage has expired, but they still have plenty of time to work with here. They have to be afraid of Vigos, but just now smoking. So they are going to take their time, and I think Roche has already fallen.
No, absolutely. I don't think Empire have any time. Maybe they can punish the escape, but even then, I wouldn't feel
Vigos
too
would have to go now,
with
and it's just
he
a
walks
moment's
over the
hesitation.
sentry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moments hesitation. That's all they need. Could pick off No Tail.
No
Here
Tail.
we go. Dream Coil and the Bat Right Lasso. Where have we seen this before? Coming on through. They do burn him down, but coming right back on through. I don't feel comfortable with this. Fnatic should really just walk away. Nice Fisher coming out, but really, they don't have much to stand on here, especially because they still don't have friggin' detection. They have no detection at all. I think they're just trying to like say we can beat Empire with a Mirana pickup without any kind of selection. I mean, they would love a gem, but right now they're being stubborn about it. Really,
they have two really consequential items coming up on both supports. So as a person who's played support myself in my life, I can say like when you're so close to that mechanism that you can taste it, it's really hard to convince yourself to buy Dust. But I agree, they really should. But the thing is, they are actually is that Blink for K? Yes, it is. So Blink is on Earthshaker, and that's going to be a huge deal. That gives them so much counter-initiation potential against Empire.
Very true. Very, very true indeed. I mean, and this pretty much means that every single time they go in No Tail and jump 3 people on top of them to try to bring them down very, very quickly, that especially if they spend the Waiting Rift, suddenly Earthshaker, suddenly the Echo Slam drops on down, and yeah, from there, all amazing amounts of AoE damage, even more so the Disable, because I mean, that enchant item is a 5-second cooldown, the Aftershocks will come on through, it's going to be a really, really big deal. So I think that the Blink Dagger pretty much makes him a brand new hero, and it makes sense that they weren't going to worry about maybe a potential pick-off through sentries when they can just guarantee a Blink Dagger like that.
Can we go macro a bit, Blaze? So I feel like a lot of Dota, especially the laning phase, is sort of what you pay for and what you get. And so Empire paid a lot to develop Puck early. Like, they gave Vigos a 3v3 lane. A 3v1 lane. And sure, that meant that the supports got
jumping out in. We are going to see that there is going to be that pick off on 2K. He does get that Echo Sloth onto pretty much everybody, but without the follow-up disables, without anybody else being prepared for it, that Blink Dagger, he was brought right back into the enemy's position, but not on his terms. You are going to see Vigos drop down right here. He tried to just Dream Coil and phase shift out, but no such luck. Omni/Stolen, though, and it's going to come out from Rubik onto Era. The Light Circuit will not latch onto that spin, though. 4-staffing away. Silent gets the telekinesis, brings up Era, but actually walks right back on into him and does get dropped down. Very unfortunate for him, but trying to make it so his allies can escape, and that might just happen here. There's going to be the healing ward, making sure they can stay pushing up and pretty much bring everybody up to full, even with this Aegis Immortal still intact.
Yeah, I just still feel like they kind of beggared Blow's position to feed Vigos, and Vigos hasn't really gotten that much done.
Not gonna get him out of there though, just too much damage. There's the bash from the bear, and finally does get locked down, and this tier 2 tower should be brought to the bank with it. But they're going deep. They're going so deep here, looking for some bashes, just getting the crippling, and a couple more right clicks will finish the job here. Going all in, getting all 5 members of Empire. Blow Your Brain, the only one back up, and honestly, what can he accomplish?
I mean, this is the game Fnatic like to play. They like to sort of get that advantage on you, and this is one of the 2 games Fnatic like to play. One is this. They just totally take advantage and just push you down, and they're able to just constantly dive and kill you very, very hard. And this is usually when Era's on a mid-game carry. And then their other game plan is, of course, the split push. But they haven't even needed that. They actually could do that this game, but they don't need it because they're so, so ahead. And really, it's just the 3 core players, but especially Era and Trixie, just having a very clear plan and executing it very well. I think the stand-in supports have availed themselves okay, but I mean, they didn't do amazingly. I mean, they didn't put that much pressure out on Blow early. Some of the Earthshaker plays haven't been the greatest. I mean, they've been good, but it's really come down to the fact that Era and Trixie have played essentially unopposed. Era with the Sacred Relic, by the way. So.
I'm about to stop justifying item selections for him. It's just like he's getting to that point where it's just so darn trolly. I know there's benefits, and I could go into them over and over, but that's not what it's about. He's just so confident in himself. He's like, screw it. 29-minute Radiance, bring it on. Let's go. Let's dish out the damage. Be in the middle of the fight, and there's nothing to really stop him here.
Yep. I mean, the fact that he is very difficult to kill means that he can Radiance damage down Empire, and they have such a level advantage. Well, actually, I mean, again, the supports, we talked about how the supports aren't going to have a level disadvantage, and they still do. But that's completely countervailed by the fact that Juggernaut is level freaking 18.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up there. I mean, the fact that he has triple the net worth, almost triple, I'm exaggerating, but a very, very substantial advantage compared to the Mirana. Just right now, Era is just destroying Blow Your Brain and farm, and he feels very, very confident about his position here. One thing to mention is the Geometry site has been picked up on the Ezreal, so Cindering going to be trying to keep that safe and keep the vision up make sure they don't get initiated on too hardcore. And finally, Natural Night coming once more, so we'll have to see what No-Tail can accomplish with this here. It's not going to be a permanite because, well, obviously nothing's going to be permanent, but I like to call it that when he starts off with a rank 3 ultimate at the beginning of the night. Right now, he was level 15, so a little shy of that. But either way, he has the Gem of True Sight himself. No Aghanims to make it extremely overpowered, but nevertheless very, very strong.
He gave the gem to Trixie.
Oh, just bouncing it back and forth. It's hot potato here, man.
Yeah. No, I like it a little more on Trixie. He's been dying less. No offense, No. Honestly,
that's total offense to No-Tail. Who are you kidding?
They've spent almost every single lasso on No-Tail, to be fair.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, that's actually not Empire. I mean, okay, so you killed the Night Stalker, but there's 2 stronger heroes that now you have no lasso and really no recourse for. Because Trixie is tanky enough at this point, just the fact that he has 2k HP, that Empire have to commit a lot of resources to being able to kill him. And they run the risk of anybody being entangled. And somebody that gets entangled dies.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing goes for Era, because he's essentially immune to your magic for 8 seconds. It's, sorry, 5 seconds, not 8 seconds. I don't know why I said 8. But Empire just, they have only so much water, and they need to fill 3 buckets with it, basically.
Sure enough. That's very true. I mean, all 3 of these guys do a substantial amount of damage. No-Tail, a little bit less, in my opinion, because of the fact that he has been limited as far as his damage and his levels. I mean, he's just been gimped a little bit because he is on the front line. He is focused on every time. But although you made Night Stalker a little bit less of a threat, the fact is he still is their target, and until they start focusing on the heroes that actually do the damage and trying to bring down Juggernaut before an Omni Slash comes out, I feel they're setting themselves up for a losing fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Fnatic are very, very, very much in command. I actually, now, it's an interesting combo, but the fact that Empire have 2 Blink Daggers, like, I actually think Fnatic's initiation has eclipsed Empire's, because as soon as Era is anywhere near Vigos or Scandal, they actually can't generate their blinks. And he can get in there because he has Blink Dagger. As soon as he blinks on top of them and just pops Blade Fury, they can't blink anywhere. All they can sort of do is respond maybe to him with the lasso. Yeah. And K has the blink in to stun. Like, he can always respond to a lasso with his set of stuns onto Batrider. And I don't know, I just feel like Fnatic have, even though these builds are really weird. Okay, No-Tail finally did get his BKB. I was looking for that earlier. That's a huge deal too, because he's been... What percentage of Fnatic's deaths does No-Tail actually account?
Oh gosh, right now 6 out of 12. He's 50%.
Yeah, I think that's going to fall because it's going to be much harder to kill him unless, again, they spend the lasso. And lasso is I mean, it's a limited resource. Maybe Batrider should go Refresher. That wasn't a serious suggestion.
Sure. I mean, Halberd is probably or Sheepstake is some more common. Speaking of, Vigos has been building it for some time, but just never really getting there. He's only level 13 as, like you said, the solo safe lane. Well, solo for the most part anyways. But anyways, safe lane Puck only has a Blink Dagger, Treads, Magic Wand Bottle, standard core item set, but is still, I would say, like 2,800, 2,900 gold away from this Scythe of Ice. Do you feel if they had it now that this would be a different game, and do you think that it's a little bit too late in this stage, or I don't know?
A Scythe of Ice wouldn't be bad by any means. I mean, it's never a bad item. It's actually an absolutely incredible item. And I kind of feel like, I mean, if they had it right now, like if he was finishing it right now, I still think they find themselves pretty substantively behind. If they had it 10 minutes earlier, well, not 10, but let's say they had it like 6 minutes earlier, maybe they could make something happen with it. But that's the whole thing. I feel like Empire spent a lot of their... generally speaking, like their early game available resources on ensuring Vigos had a very safe, easy lane, and they just haven't done very much with it, while the concomitant factor of that is that Blow Your Brain got almost nothing early. He's building towards his Manta style now, but just look at how badly he's lagging behind some of these heroes, even on his own team.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's very, very, very limited, and that's when your number 1 is playing as, what is it, number 3 right now. It just puts you in position. Technically, he was running a number 3 lane. He was on the off lane there. You can't expect too much from him, but it's a very, very awkward position to be in. One thing, the Aegis did expire for the Juggernaut, so Era's not going to have that threat presence, but he's actually going for a Perseverance now. You know, pick up the Battlefield at 35 minutes. Makes a lot of sense. But, heck, I don't know. He might go Linken's,
why not Linken's?
Just to avoid the Batrider lasso. Like,
yeah, I think Linken's is a great pickup. Stats, too.
Yeah, I mean, he
No,
avoids
I think he'll go Linken's, but it could be Battle Fury too. Why not?
No, I actually, as soon as I said it, I thought it made a lot more sense. Avoiding Lasso, avoiding Laguna Blade, avoiding Arrow, and Telekinesis. Those are the things that it will nullify, and that's a big deal. I mean, Fade Bolt, I guess, is not that big a deal, but nevertheless, it's a lot of things add up very, very quickly, and I think it makes them have that much more aggressive potential. We were talking about their initiation style, where they just want to send Juggernaut in, blink in, Radiant starts taking away, and suddenly they have to just go in on him.
They're going to go for Era, I think.
They're going to try, but, you know, how easy is that going to be?
No, not easy. I would say substantially less than easy. But Era does peel back. I was wondering if Fnatic were going to try to bait it, because we saw K come in. But they might just try to punish on Vigos here.
Yeah, he has a lot of escape with this rank 4 phase shift. He can blink out of phase, but it's just going to be very, very difficult for him because he's just so far in. He's so deep. He's going to blink into the trees. He's going to TP out successfully, so that does work out for him nicely. But yeah, it's just putting him in a high-pressure situation where he can't really find farm, and that's not good at all. There was one more thing I wanted to highlight, but other than the fact that Earthshaker is still not rank 2 as far as getting that Echo Slam up, I don't think I've really covered, don't have anything in mind other than AC up on the Druid.
I was going to talk about the bear, yeah. Sure. So this bear, the Assault Cuirass is actually a slightly less big deal here than it sometimes is, just because armor is still fairly meaningless for Fnatic because they're not facing a high auto attack team. But the D-armor will be amazing, the attack speed will be amazing. Another hunt on Vigos here.
Yeah, trying to go in on him. He is the hardest hero to kill here, but Era feels confident to be able to lock him down. Phase shift is not implemented yet. The silence does come on out, but still big right-click damage. They get the main, they get the silence, they bring him down. That's a really big deal, of course, because he's down for 52 seconds without buyback. And this pretty much gives them free reign across it. He's actually really close to buyback, so I'll double check. We've had issues with our charts previously, and he actually has it ready. So I hate these charts. Somebody was trying to say that I was doing it wrong, where I'm not adding together the fact that unreliable gold is lost on death. But no, it's just wrong. We do see Omnislash coming out, but a beautiful timed Ghost Scepter coming out of Godlike. Unfortunately, not enough to keep him alive, as it's just too much burst magic damage to follow it up, and now they go for the Rax. The arrow does come on out, is going to be able to stun up, and now the Lasso comes out, but on the bear, they're focusing so much into something that can be resummoned at a moment's notice. And here comes No Tail getting actually focused pretty hard with the Rubik stolen Omnislash bursting on through, but again, every solo HP, that's a 900 HP Rubik. He dies in seconds, and even looks like there's not going to be much for the puck to do either. So finishing off the Rax, they fall back from here. Roche respawning. They pretty much, I mean, they didn't lose anything in that. Look at their HP values. They healing ward right back up to full. It's like they were never even there.
Healing ward on Juggernaut combined with the Lone Druid is just so incredibly strong. Plus that BKB on No Tail meant that he could just shrug off all that damage. I do think that the Lasso on Bear was a misclick. There's no reason to actually do it on the bear. They definitely wanted Era there, especially considering that they had just successfully arrowed him.
Yeah, absolutely. They were just right on top of each other. The phase, you obviously planned out using the phase and right-clicking on the Juggernaut. I don't know. But they were able to get the misclick off, and they were making sure that the bear would be taken hostage instead of their friendly little Juggernaut, who now has Linken's, which makes that full sentiment not even relevant any longer. So now it's going to be even harder to lock him down, and they're just going to keep it going. They have Aegis up on him. He doesn't have buyback, but I don't think he's going to have to need it anyways. He hasn't died yet this game. A lot of damage coming in on the bear, but again, that healing ward is very, very powerful. We see the blink initiation. Here it goes. Bringing in Trixie, trying to burst him down with the Luna Blade, but there's the Echo Slam. Big damage coming out of K. They're going to be able to burst him down nicely. Ova will be able to drop a lot, but they actually stole the Echo Slam the other direction, doing a lot of damage, but it's not enough. They've lost so much already. They're at such a deficit in levels and gold and HP values, and they all drop down. Batrider lead up survive, but the remainder will fall, and now the Rax with them.
I think if you're Empire, Blaze, you just have to shrug this off psychologically. Like, okay, you lost, I honestly don't think, a lot of people sort of claim that Empire is slumping really hard. I don't see it when I look at the statistics. I mean, they've been still doing well. They haven't quite gotten the last few championships, but they've always been close in their last few competitions. I think they're still doing okay. It's just a matter of, obviously this game didn't go the way you wanted. Obviously it didn't even go in the same dimension of the way you wanted. But it really was just a draft loss when you come down to it. I don't know. Like, the Juggernaut pick was coming. They probably ought to have known it was coming, and they really didn't prep for it, I feel like. And then the lanes, I see what they were going for, but it was just, low is never going to be a factor at any point in the game, unfortunately, and Fnatic didn't let it go long enough for him to become a factor. So, but the thing about it is, if you just get outdrafted and not, like, substantively outplayed, and I don't think they got that outplayed, you could just be like, oh, well, we just won't get outdrafted next game. And I feel like that's a more psychologically acceptable position to play from than like, oh my god, we're getting wrecked by this team with stand-ins, like what's wrong with us? I really think it's just a matter of Empire adjusting their mentality to the next game, really taking care to guess what the overall strategy of the other team is going to be, and respond to it. And with that, I think they could easily mount a comeback and still take the series if they can just sort of raise that level up a little bit.
So you've referenced the draft being the weakness of Empire's play in this game here multiple times over. Who do you think was the weak link as far as that selection? Not the player, but the hero itself. Do you think it was the Mirana that really just kind of screwed them over? They should have had some kind of strength counter initiator or maybe a Magnus off lane or something?
Ban Jug, A.
Sure.
I really do think they should have banned him. It fit into Fnatic's lineup so perfectly. I almost think they could have justified taking Jug, with the only exception that it's tough to go against Entangle that way. And the Mirana, I mean, if they were going to run it, I think it had to be safe lane try or hard lane try. But the combination of that and just pigeonholing themselves with 4 intelligence heroes, like, it's not that the Lina in and of itself is bad, or the Puck, or the Rubik. These are all great heroes. It's that when you end up with 4 int heroes and then a relatively soft carry, you're just leaving yourself open to get taken advantage of, I feel.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the situation that they were put in there. One thing we've learned from previous games for Empire is that Vigos is not yet accustomed to the initiation style of Batrider. He plays him well in the laning phase, but then in the team fights breaks out. So in that situation, they were forced to put Scandal on the Batrider here, and he put him up in the mid role. Do you feel if Vigos had just played the Puck in the off lane and had Mirana up top, that it would have been a lot different, or it really came down to the hero picks?
Well, frankly, actually, in terms of 1 versus 3, Puck has trouble with a lot of lanes, but now that you mention it, Earthshaker, Keeper of the Light kind of seems doable, because you can Illusory Orb over the one thing with Mirana is she has trouble avoiding both the Fissure and the Illuminate, but Puck can technically jump over the Fissure and avoid the Illuminate just with Phase Shift, so I don't know, maybe. It's really tough to say. Maybe they could have made it work in the laning phase. Maybe they could have done better in the draft. But overall, I frankly, I don't think their execution was that bad. They did okay. They picked off No-Tail, in fact, a lot. They really limited his effectiveness after the first night. But just they couldn't find the rest of it. And we'll see what they bring out for Game 2.
Fair enough. So that was a pretty interesting game. We'll see if Empire can bounce back or if it's going to be match point for Fnatic here. Either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the game. This has been the Premier League. I am Blaze. If you are enjoying my commentary, you can check me out on twitter.com/blazecasting. That's where I put up all the stuff that I'm going to be working on. And for you, Vic?
Vikromond, VYKROMOND.com, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff.
All right, going on into Game 2. Thanks for tuning in, guys.